What's up, everybody? Welcome to Legion of Toon. I am Gary Gallimore,
I'm Allan.
And I am Lou Gonzalez.
and this is a podcast where we talk about everything animated. This is going to be what would you say, our first live episode, Lou?
Yes, yeah, and our inaugural episode. So we have recorded a couple, but we want to kind of kick off this new show since it is the holidays with a special holiday episode. So the three of us are going to talk about a couple of our favorite animated holiday specials or episodes of the show. And when we say animated, it's cartoons, anime, claymation, movies that are mostly animated. So we might get into like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but not Muppets or puppets, or I'm not even sure what else. But like Pixar would count. I'm trying to think, is there any other genre that's like kind of in the middle?
The
One
new
thing,
Lion King.
Yeah,
What?
that would. Yeah.
one thing we will not be covering, however, is hentai.
Uh,
Because even though Stanley from The Office said it is called hentai and it is art.
We cover that in the privacy of our own homes, okay?
yeah. No, we would need John Seiler for that episode.
Oh damn!
Oh, he works for a company.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Gary might not know that.
I did not.
Yes,
I did not.
So, why don't we get started? I guess.
Who wants to kick us off? How about you, Lou?
Okay, that's totally fine. So I'm gonna go my first one. I'm gonna go like super traditional, which is The Year Without Santa, which is one of the many Rankin and Bass films. This is like one of the ones that you see all the time during the holiday season. It's the traditional kind of claymation animation. This is where you get the famous Heat Miser, Cold Miser song. I actually saw this real recently. So this came out in 1974. It is a really good movie. The quick plot is basically there is, like in many cartoons or movies that have to do with Christmas, there is a lack of holiday cheer. This makes Santa depressed. So Mrs. Santa sends two of her elves to try to round up some Christmas cheer to get Santa to not cancel Christmas. This turns into a whole bunch of hijinks, and we see Mother Nature, and there's claymation, or we get the Heat Miser and Cold Miser, and Mother Earth, and there's a bunch of different songs from all the characters. It is one of my favorite movies. It was like a Warner Brothers thing, originally aired on ABC. You see it all the time. The other Rankin and Bass things is Rudolph and Frosty. Rudolph would be the one that a lot of people think about, which is the Island of Misfit Toys. There is a lot of awesome things in it. It has probably one of the most iconic Christmas songs, but not the most in an animated cartoon. There are some weirdnesses of it. It's still 1974, where several adults just run up on random children and talk to them in the schoolyard or at their home, and then random old man Santa, who can't even come up with a good fake name, gets invited to the small child's house. So it was really funny watching this with my wife's little cousins and being like, oh, this kind of stuff doesn't really work nowadays. But the rest of it, I think we get in a lot of these holiday things is like a very morality tale. And I do think this does a good job of like being hopeful, not losing your childhood innocence, and knowing the true meaning of like the holidays, which is like loving your family and trying to give more than get. And yeah, like I'm not sure what else to say. Like I connected with this specific movie, I guess because there's like a lot of like it starts off with like the main character, the kid is like, oh, that's for like kid stuff, and that idea of like when you kind of, if you're a child listening to this, earmuffs, but when you kind of think that Santa's not real, it kind of makes you second like feel like, oh, that's kind of an end of an age in your life, that kind of loss of that innocence. And this movie always reminds me of that. And I don't know, it always connects with me. And then it has that wicked awesome song, and that has a million covers, including some awesome like heavy metal covers. I'm not sure. Do you guys have any memories of this specific special?
I don't actually remember this. I remember it, but I don't at the same time.
Most people just remember the song, the Heat Miser, Cold Miser song.
I watched it a few months ago, or for the first time, because obviously I was born in 94, so it came out 20 years before I was born. And
ooh, I'm only 11 years older than or younger than this special. Oh man.
It is interesting though, like of a lot of the specials, this is one of the oldest that we still see. It's probably all of the Rankin and Bass stuff, and then Charlie Brown Christmas and The Grinch are probably all fairly old.
Now, is it just me getting old, or do they not really make Christmas specials the way they used to?
It's you getting old. They're on all the time. Literally,
No,
like
no.
I was.
I think what Gary is trying to say is the main themes.
Well, no, like there's
You're saying,
like I remember when I was little, like there was a lot of like there was a big to do. Like every like around Christmas, you'd watch these on TV.
yeah,
Like it'd be
I
advertised like to come out. Like this is
they
we're showing
definitely,
this and stuff
yeah,
like
they
that.
definitely do, but most of them are not original. They are like Shrek Christmas, but it's on NBC or something, or some other property. But they still put them out all the time. Like there are new Christmas movies, and they also remake them all the time. Which we got a brand new Grinch this year.
Well, yeah, that came out in theaters though.
Yeah, but we do. There was literally one on the TV before we started this that I was watching. I don't remember what it was called, but it's a lot of time. It's like a movie that is done, either a Christmas movie or some other animated movie, and they'll do a Christmas special of that. Because I
And
think,
maybe it's just because like I am older, I don't get the
yeah,
same feeling from it all anymore, so
yeah.
I'd pay
Also, like
less
how,
attention.
yeah, how much do you watch like network TV?
Like none.
Yeah, so that's what they're all on. They're all on ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Well,
they're only on those
shit.
networks, and then all the other ones will just air the old stuff.
Well, shit. I guess that means I'm just getting old.
Yeah.
That shit sucks.
It's
Get
also
off my lawn.
changing like where you're watching too. Like I said, like you're not watching network TV. A lot of people aren't, so you're just not seeing it. I'm sure Nickelodeon and like the Disney Kids channel also do like specials as well.
Yeah, I'm just not getting them because, well, yeah, I've kind of cut the cable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have cable or anything. I just have.
But I think you bring up a good point of like these used to be a thing. Now we get kind of every holiday the show, like the channels will run specific marathons. Like you get like all day Elf, all day Christmas Story, back to back to back. You
You
will
mean
get
the
all the
staple for the past like 40 years
yeah.
of 24 hours of It's Wonderful Life?
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. I think you will probably get like one of the channels will probably run all of the Rankin and Bass stuff. And you kind of one of the channels will run all the Charlie Brown stuff. One of the channels runs only the Grinch all day. So like
Or Christmas Vacation.
yes, or Christmas Vacation. Exactly. There's like the 10 movies. The only one that's really newer that's kind of broke in was Elf, which is a live action movie, but that's the only thing that's really newer that really broke through the kind of wall of the permanent holiday specials.
Right. So it is just me, but it's also kind of not just me.
Yeah. There is a lot of new stuff, but the new stuff is both in quality and in like market penetration not doing as well. They're kind of just a 1 year. There's nothing that sticks past 1 year. So I'm not, yeah.
Well,
I think that was an interesting idea to bring up.
for me, I mainly stuck to one channel, and that was like for cartoon Christmas cartoon specials. Is mainly for me Nickelodeon.
Yeah, which
Because
makes a ton of sense, like especially like for your age.
Yeah.
okay, I'm like I bought a Hollow Jolly holiday specials from that bundle on iTunes of like five or six shows. There's a Rugrats, Santa, Fairly Odd Parents, where it's Christmas every single day of the year, and the running joke is that the dad is addicted to eggnog. Then there's the one
I
that
like eggnog.
then there's the one that's kind of pretty sad now, thinking about because of what happened to the creator, the SpongeBob SquarePants Christmas Who episode.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, the creator Steven Hillenberg of SpongeBob SquarePants passed away at 57.
Yeah, that's kind of that's an important loss. Just
Yep. There's a guy who touched a lot of kids, especially still, and SpongeBob is definitely one of those animated characters that probably will never go away.
no, and it's like we're
Yeah.
talking for well over a decade. So yeah, let's give the man props and honor that. Like that's I think that's an important part of what we're trying to do is bring light to animation and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to give him.
There is one though that is just effing metal, and that's the Invader Zim holiday special.
Oh man, so that's like a cult classic show at this point because it got like 2 or 3 seasons.
It got, I think, 2.
Yeah, and the creator just like never wants to do it ever again, from what I remember.
Well, the creator still, the book is relaunched, like the comic book.
All right, so Back to A Year Without a Santa Claus. Like, okay, you told us why that was your pick. Besides the song, what's the one scene in that whole thing that would sell it, or you would use to sell it, that really sticks with you?
Um, hmm. I think it would have to be, although it's not my favorite song in the, again, like the Ringing and Bass stuff is very song heavy. The Santa in Disguise and the dad singing about how much like they like Christmas, trying to convince the kid like why he should still believe in Santa and kind of the
Huh.
Christmas spirit. And the dad's like, yeah, I still believe in like in all this magic. And I remember when Santa gave me presents and all this stuff. And it's not the best song, but it is definitely like the sweetest moment and like the most kind of sentimental, like seeing a
Grown man.
yeah, especially like it is the weird animation, but yeah, seeing like specifically, yeah, a grown man, the father taking that role is not usually something you see in most, like especially animated, but like most holiday stuff is usually the mom is the one kind of being more, trying to get people in the Christmas spirit. So seeing the father do it was definitely like a difference.
Well, in a lot of these, it's always the father that's like, "Oh, well, it's time to grow up," and stuff like
Yes.
that. So, yeah, the dad being the one that's, you know, don't lose that, still believe and stuff like that is actually fairly uncommon.
It
Yeah.
also sends a nice message that childhood truly really never dies.
Exactly. And that's why I like that movie. Like it's the kind of real moral, at least of what I take from it, is like just because you may or may not believe doesn't mean you one have to ruin it for other people. And two, you even if you don't necessarily believe in that kind of like magical or religious stuff, which the Rankin and Bass stuff has a lot of religious stuff kind of in it, it's still like you should kind of keep the true meaning of it there with you, which is just like celebrating being with their family and giving to others. But yeah, that's it for me. Even though it's a movie that's way older than we all are. But I think this is a good point to go over, Alan, since you kind of start to get into a little bit. But like, what is your first animated thing that you wanted to talk about?
It's a feature-length movie, but instead of Christmas, it's actually Hanukkah because it stars Adam Sandler, who's one of the most famous Jewish entertainers in the world still at this age.
Yes, and definitely of all the Jewish entertainers, he's the one that kind of, which again, this movie goes to, I would say, is like kind of celebrates his Judaism in a very boisterous and loud way.
Yeah, and it also has he's sort of a Scrooge-ish character.
So he's
Well, the movie starts off with a musical. There are a bunch of songs throughout that have like musical style, or there's a bunch of singing in the movie, and
well, it's his take on a like what we're talking about, like Christmas special. It's his take on that genre for Hanukkah.
yeah, and there's some. It's most of it is aged well.
This is back in a time when Adam Sandler could do no wrong, really.
In many ways, we are still in that time when it comes to the box office gross.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's scary to think about.
Well, yeah, now he has like a giant deal with Netflix, I believe, right?
Don't remind me.
But I do think it's interesting, and like with this movie, that like this is kind of the only animated Hanukkah movie, and this is like more of an adult movie, right? In many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
so
did
like
have, it sported the PG-13 rating.
so it kind of it's filling a void, which happens all the time where there's like one person doing it, but like we as in the general public don't really get much when it comes to like religions and holiday celebrations outside of Christmas. There's more, there's probably more New Year's movies. There's probably more Thanksgiving movies than there are Hanukkah movies.
Yeah, probably. Actually, no, I'd probably say definitely. It's just unfortunately not something they do. It's nice to have a, I'm not Jewish, so it's nice to have a window in to see
Yeah.
other culture, other religious holidays and stuff like that. I wish they would do it more.
Yeah. So I guess
And
uh,
well, the whole throughout the movie, the main Adam Sandler voices or is the Davy character, and it's revealed that the reason he became a drunk at a very early age is because his parents died in a car accident during Hanukkah.
Wow, that's very Disney of them.
Yeah, it is. It's very. I remember seeing this movie in theaters when it came out. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I
It
remember.
was, I want to say 02, 03.
Yeah, so I was 17 when it
I
came
was 8 or
out.
9.
Yeah, I was
Thanks
in
for
high
that,
school. I was in high school as well.
So I remember going to see that, and I remember liking it quite a bit.
Yeah,
I
I'm trying to
thought it
remember.
was fun.
There's like a Mr. Magoo type character in it, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a character who, the character's name is Whitey, and not because he is Caucasian, because he was he's the bumbling referee at the bumbling guy that refs the basketball games for the schools or for the main school, and it's one of those characters where you'd think it was voiced by someone else, but it's actually voiced by Sandler, and it's actually I think based on I want to say it's based on a family member of his.
So without the obvious reasons, or the obvious reason, what really draws you to the movie? Like, what is the one part or one scene that you would sell it on?
The dynamic between Adam Sandler and his I don't know if they're still married, but his wife at the time, because she actually voices like there's a song one of the musical type songs in the movie is called "A Long Time Ago," and it's actually while most of the movie is bombastic and over the top, the "Long Time Ago" scene makes you feel for this character, and there's another sequence called or when Davy's in the mall or he's in a mall drunk, and he's the main thing that he has that he never opens until this set point in the movie is the Hanukkah card from his parents were going to give him before they passed.
Oh, so it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, like what they did in that later on.
Yeah, except this one has more weight to it because like I saw this, I was watching the scene earlier, and as I mentioned before recording, I literally started bawling.
Bet you that's the only time that's happened during an Adam Sandler movie.
No, he's like a couple of serious roles. I think
Ooh,
it's
yeah, forget about
Reign
that.
Over Me. Yeah, Reign
Oh,
Over
yeah.
Me is like really intense. So yeah, when he decides to go serious, he's actually a very good actor.
Yeah, he can be
He just can make infinite money doing his Adam Sandlerness.
yeah. Um, yeah, if I remember correctly, which I'm pretty sure I do, it's kind of like a lot of Adam Sandler's earlier comedies, and that this one has a real heart to it.
Yeah,
Like
which is if you try to compare or if you compare this movie to something like Pixels.
oh god, I forgot that existed.
A lot of people did.
Oh god, that technically counts for our show, doesn't it? It could be used.
Ooh,
That's definitely like a hate. That's like a hate watch. I don't
oh
think
god.
I don't think I could do it. But yeah, like a lot of his early comedies are very heartfelt. Like Big Daddy's like
That's actually it's funny you mentioned that. The Sprouse twins are actually in the movie.
oh really?
Yeah,
Also, if for our younger listeners, that would be one of them is now Jughead.
yeah.
Well, didn't they have a show on Nickelodeon also?
No, that
Yeah.
was Disney Channel. The Sweet Life
Sweet
of Zack
Life.
and Cody
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but one of them is specifically Jughead
on
on
Riverdale.
Riverdale. And he's actually a good actor. I don't know which one it is, but
Cole Sprouse.
yes. But yeah, it's like
and
it's
you can tell it's him because even though he dyed his hair, all you have to do is just picture him. Just imagine what he would look like with blonde hair.
oh yeah, he has the same face, and that show is full of terrible dye jobs. I like that show though, but yeah, I think Eight Crazy Nights is like a very interesting movie. I would love to do like a deep dive on it at some point, but I do think it's kind of in this weird thing because it's a famous Hollywood comedic actor. One of the things that really blew him up in general was actually the Hanukkah song.
Which part 3 is in the soundtrack.
Okay, and that's like I think is like a song that like super like if we're talking about like audience penetration, like I don't think there's anybody in America that doesn't know that song and hasn't heard it at some point because it's played on radio all the time.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
that is a song that you cannot escape.
and I think he was very. This movie is also kind of ahead of its time in like a big kind of Hollywood guy doing an animated movie, kind of like an adult animated movie. I think we see a lot more of this today, both between Netflix and other like stuff on FX or Comedy Central. Like they're currently in the last couple of years a lot more of this, and he was kind of way ahead of the time because I don't know how well this movie did in the theaters. Oh, and you did bring up earlier, Alan. So the movie came out in 02. He is still married to his wife, and they were married in 03. So I'm not sure if they met on this movie, but they were definitely like dating post this movie. So that chemistry that they had might have been like their actual real life kind of chemistry bleeding into the recordings.
Yeah. The thing is, this movie actually bombed.
Which does not happen to Adam Sandler very often.
Yeah, the animated like feature length movies are very dicey because they're very expensive, and I feel like they have like unless they're Pixar or Disney, and even Disney sometimes has some stinkers, but they have like a not very good success rate. I feel like.
Oh yeah, and during this is something I want to bring up because it's in the sort of the Wayback Machine. In the "Let It Out, Davy" song scene, he's he's in a chair or tied up to a chair, and store logos from 2001 2002 are talking to him. So like the Sprouse twins are KB Toys soldiers. Tyra Banks is a Victoria's Secret gown. There's a Radio Shack walkie-talkie. There's a Foot Locker referee. Kevin Farley plays a Panda Express is a Panda Express panda. Tom Kenny, aka SpongeBob, is the Sharper Image chair that Davy is stuck to. And there's a GNC bottle that's singing too. And it is none other than Carl Weathers.
Oh my god, that's awesome! Carl Weathers,
Yeah,
who's
that
going
is
to be in a
awesome.
Star Wars thing. Did you ever think that would happen?
No.
Yep, he's going to be in The Mandalorian. Which talking about a terrible holiday special that we don't have to do is that one.
The Star Wars holiday special. Whew.
So I think from here, did you have any other thoughts or things you wanted to get out about Eight Crazy Nights, Alan?
Well, I had a question for you, Al.
Yeah.
You say it holds up for the most part. What part of it doesn't hold up?
Remember when we were doing the Clerks review?
Oh, that's
sort of,
that. I wouldn't
kind
put
of.
my money that that's going to be the issue, and we can tease that for people to check it out. That will be probably episode 3.
Where the gender voice choice.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, yeah. So we can leave that as a tease. But I think we can
I
segue.
just wanted to just talk about the main cast. Rob Schneider is the narrator. Kevin Nealon is the mayor. And it's not really an Adam Sandler movie without John Lovitz.
Oh God, that guy.
So
Yeah, well, it's got like all the like you said, it has all of his Adam Sandler. I'm sure if we dug into the cast, we'd find all of his other buddies in it that are in everything. But yeah, I think we can segue over to Gary. And what is your first pick?
All right, so I don't know why. I really can't tell you why, because I do enjoy Christmas. I've always had fun with it and stuff like that, but I always go towards the characters that dislike Christmas. And for my first pick, we're going with probably the second most famous person that hated Christmas, and that would be the Grinch. Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I would say he's almost like 1B at this point because, like, as big as the other person is who I'm thinking you're thinking of, I would say more people know about the Grinch at this point.
You might be right.
Like, the
No.
other one is older, definitely significantly an older character, but I think we've had 3 iterations of the Grinch.
Yeah, there's the
The original animated special.
Yes.
who did the voice of the Grinch?
Ooh, what was that? That was
For some reason, I want to say Boris Karloff, but I know but that's because he did.
Did he do the song?
I think he did the song. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking it up too. So
No, I think Boris Karloff was the he was one. He did one of the rank. He did some Rankin Bass stuff.
No, he was the voice of the Grinch.
Okay.
Good old Boris Karloff. I remember the Grinch always being a favorite of mine when I was little. I like the soured on everything sort of characters. And I like the turnarounds that they have, even though sometimes look at them as sellouts. Like, you know, way to turn that around. But you know, it's always, I think they're good characters to sort of follow. Like you can understand them, and then when they have that change, it means a lot more than, you know. It's not just it's somebody, because it's always somebody learning about themselves more than anything.
yeah, I would say this is another movie, at least to me, that's about the quote unquote like true meaning of Christmas and the holidays. It's definitely a big morality tale.
Right, and that it doesn't, you know, it's not all about presents and stuff like that. It's just about family and camaraderie and love and sharing. And that's always been sort of the Christmas stories that I like. When somebody doesn't get it and they hate it so much, and then they finally understand it, which means they finally kind of understand themselves and their capability of love, and you know that they finally have it in them to participate when they feel like the outcast. I always thought that's it's a neat dynamic. It's because it's not about a kid that loves Christmas or anything like that. We're literally following a character that hates Christmas and wants to steal it.
Yeah, not just that, we're following an adult for the most part.
Yeah, who wants to steal the joy of children. And if you can't relate to that, then you're obviously not a parent. No, but yeah, no, it's a grown-up character that is trying to steal what he thinks the meaning of Christmas is, which is the presents and the decorations and all that shit. And we're following this character as he sort of starts the journey and starts stealing things, and then sort of segues into like slowly learning what it's all about, and being able to get behind it, not just learning what it's about, but feeling what it's about and participating in what it's about. So I always thought it was a cool dynamic. I always loved the animation too. The animation was always real pretty to me. It was I love the design of the Grinch.
Well, like, and everything about this story and it's kind of its own entity because the fact that, like you said, we have the original, so that's the one you're talking about. It just is 66, yeah, and then we have the live action remake that happens in 2000, and then we just had a new
animated one
in 2018, and
which we might cover if I ever actually go watch it.
yeah, which basically all has the same kind of character design. Which that original special is like not even a half hour; it's only 26 minutes.
Right.
And
I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the co-directors of the new Grinch movie, Scott Mosier.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Which is why there hasn't been that many new episodes of the podcast.
Yep. I do think it is interesting to look at the, like, no matter who, or like, so in all 3 of these adaptations, they are bringing a heavy hitter. Because who was it again for the original?
Boris Karloff, then Jim Carrey,
and now Benedict Cumberbatch.
Flumberbutt.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
But yeah, those are all like at their times. It's all guys at the height of their powers.
Oh yeah, Jim Carrey at
In 2000?
2000 was the highest paid actor on the freaking planet. And then Boris Karloff he had done the Universal Monster movies.
Do you want to hear something really interesting? Because I'm just looking up, I have the 3 Wikipedia pages. I want to do the math here. So the original 30-minute one cost $315,000.
In 60s money.
Yeah, the Jim Carrey one was $123 million.
Oh.
The current one, $75 million.
Huh.
Yeah, and it's already made over triple its money back. It's actually made almost as much as the Jim Carrey one. It's 15 million short.
Huh.
So it is a monster hit.
And I haven't heard great things about it, but I'll watch it because of the character.
Yeah, and it's that same story, which I was actually thinking about it. The Grinch is kind of the perfect anti-commercialism of Christmas movie.
It is, which is funny that we make big commercial movies out of it.
Yeah, because basically the moral of the end is he takes all the commercialism away from the Who's, and they figure out they're like, oh, they don't need all that stuff. And seeing that it's all about, again, that morality tale of it's all about the family, it's all about the, being with others and sharing, kind of the more the giving than the receiving is what turns him around.
Yeah, and it's giving not material items, but it's giving,
love, affection, attention.
Love and affection to others, and it's a good morality tale in that, once he realizes that that's what it's really all about, and it's not about the presents and stuff like that, he actually changes to loving Christmas. It's almost like he always had that love in him, and he himself hated the commercialization of Christmas. And it wasn't until he saw that, it wasn't just about that to the Who's that he became part of them. He even carved the roast feast. And so, it's like you're right, he is a good poster boy for anti-commercialism of Christmas.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, which I do think we get a lot of these holiday movies, or 99% of them are going to be morality tales. And it is interesting to see that this is kind of, we got 2 that are kind of similar, both mine and this one, but it is really interesting to see the kind of themes that happen. I did the conversion, by the way. So the budget for that original Grinch, so it was for 29 minutes, will be about $2.4 million today. That is a huge budget for like basically an episode of TV.
Yeah.
Which again, that also yours has, which I think is why it has carried over. It has like the one song in it that kind of is almost in so many ways bigger.
Well, they include it in every take, don't they?
Yes. So, and it is the original version, which is sung by Thurl Ravenscroft. And I was trying to remember, because I'd heard stories about this. He was literally a guy that's most famous for doing voices at Disneyland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he did voices for the Haunted Mansion, Country Bear Jamboree, the Pirates of the Caribbean. And so that's him doing that song. And it's and he was also the voice of Tony the Tiger, the original one.
Oh, that's great.
Exactly. But I do think that's as we go through our movies, I think that there's kind of a connection, especially in these real classic ones, of a song that kind of carries over, and they get the huge radio play that existed throughout, at least, even I would say, including Allan, all of our childhoods, which, going back to what we talked about earlier, is different than today.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a big fan of Christmas music.
How dare you, sir?
I literally start cringing right after Thanksgiving.
I put up my tree the 2 days after Thanksgiving, and I rocked Christmas music on my trip the whole way down.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
It's for some reason, I know a lot of people get seasonal affective disorder. I actually am the reverse. I feel worse in the summer. So I don't know. I enjoy this time of year and the music and the festivities and putting up lights.
Because I get to be I feel like shit and it's cold. Great. It's awesome. No, yeah, but if you look at it, all these songs that we used to sing as kids came from these Rankin and Bass specials and
the Grinch. And I would include, we're not going to cover it today, but the original Charlie Brown Christmas. I do think that's why those old, like we're talking about a movie from 1966 that they run marathons of in 2018, and it just proves the test of the story that
Well, as far as the Rankin and the story, and as far as the Rankin and Bass stuff goes, like that was some beautiful animation work. Like,
oh yes, in both I would say that in the Grinch is beautifully animated,
oh,
and
I agree.
the
And
facial stuff that they do in that is so good with like because they do
his
like
smile.
his smile, the eyebrows. Oh, there was the one character to me that I always loved in that story is the dog.
Oh, Max.
Max, the dog. Yeah. So like for me, that's my connection to this.
I see. I've always been a big Dr. Seuss fan. I loved the book and I loved the animated short. I mean, let's face it, it's a short movie. I mean, 26 minutes, but I love Dr. Seuss. And the Grinch was just a character that I always was drawn to. Like, and I think a lot of it has to be down to the animation. He's so expressive.
Yeah, especially if you think about the other Dr. Seuss animated stuff that kind of is around the same time, which there's really not a whole lot of. And because they have done revamps over the years, there is a reason that they keep revisiting us. Yes, it's the story, but it's like that design that was created by Dr. Seuss and the combined with the story and the song, like it is it's 29 minutes and it is probably the most famous animated Christmas movie at this point. I would say that and Charlie Brown are probably the top two, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Santa Claus is coming to town.
I would say maybe
Frosty the
Rudolph.
Snowman,
Yeah,
Rudolph.
Frosty. Yeah, I picked the kind of slightly lesser known Rankin and Bass. Rudolph's probably the most well known. But yeah, that Frosty one's pretty big. But I don't like I think there are two to me in my head. The biggest Dr. Seuss characters are Grinch and the Cat in the Hat, and I bet Grinch has like bigger recognition for people.
I would say so, and has a much better live action movie.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's a quality of actor as well. Jim Carrey to Mike Myers.
Yeah, and this is we're supposed to be talking about the animated one, but I will almost give Jim Carrey as an animated figure because he does those facial expressions
Oh, he's amazing.
perfectly.
And I've seen like some of the behind the scenes stuff. Like he tortured himself to do that role
He did.
because he put those giant contacts in his face.
Well, I think they said they had a ex-CIA person in there going through like uh, techniques that you can use while you're being tortured, basically.
Oh, for him to like deal with the pain, yeah, because they're like full, like they cover his entire eyeball.
So I mean, yeah, he really went for it for that part,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a good adaptation. I know people didn't like it so much, but I always loved it. I thought it was fun.
I think it is a great adaptation.
I think it's a good. I think it belongs up there with the classic Christmas movies.
Yes. Before we move along, Alan, do you have any connections or things you want to talk about? Like, do you remember seeing this movie? I'm sure you've seen it because it's one of those movies, but like, is there any part of it that you have ever really connected to or you wanted to mention?
I make an effort to watch it every year, and I was actually supposed to see it the weekend it came out.
Oh, the new one.
No, the Jim Carrey one.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't want to go because the designs, like the way he looked, I was scared.
Oh my god, I forget that you were like a kid when that came out. When the live action one came out.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of the animated one, the original, that 66 version?
What was it? Chuck Jones? No, wasn't the animator. The animation. Is it?
Oh, I can reopen it. I just closed out of it. Okay. Sorry, I had so many tabs.
It was produced by Chuck Jones
That's okay.
and directed by Chuck Jones.
Okay, so I couldn't remember if it was Chuck Jones or Tex Avery.
The original I own. Well, I like when I bought the Rankin, like when I went on a med dash to buy a bunch of Christmas stuff or Christmas specials. the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas was one of the ones that I purchased, and it's also it was bundled in with Horde and Here's a Who.
The
Nothing against that story.
That's a sweet story. All right.
Do we want to roll? Do we want to go back around the other way, or do we want to go in the same rotation?
Well, I want to bring up since I'm doing 3, or since I'm talking about 3, I just want to get I just want to do a Hanukkah Hanukkah sandwich.
All right, that sounds perfect to me.
That's fine with me. Yeah.
So one that isn't necessarily a childhood one, but more of a recent one is Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, which is from the show Community, that was created by Dan Harmon and executive produced by the Russo brothers.
Oh, I did not know that they were involved in that show.
Yeah, the Russo brothers mainly did comedies
before they became the commanders of the
MCU.
Marvel. Yeah, the MCU.
Yeah, they worked on arguably their best work has been on Arrested Development.
See, I knew that they did that because there's the Civil War, the stair cars in the background of the big battle.
And not only were they executive producers on Community, they wrote and directed episodes. But Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas was in the making of. The writers were thinking of what to do, and Dino Stamatopoulos, I'm probably butchering his last name, who played Starburns. He pitched doing a classic Rankin Bass style Christmas special,
which is insanely. I'm trying to think of. I just lost the word. Ambitious, because claymation, like that stop motion animation in general, is insane. But to do the claymation itself is so difficult. It's so painstaking. So
time consuming.
Yeah, and they did actual clay animation for it. This isn't that pseudo. I'm trying to think of the Horace and Gromit. I can't remember what company that is, but they used to do real clay animation, and they do no longer do that. They do like a computer generated facsimile.
Well, that's like South Park. South Park was made on construction paper for one episode, and then it was all computer animated.
And that'll tie into my second one. But yeah, it's kind of insane that they would go for that, and it looks gorgeous. Like that episode looks totally gorgeous, Allan.
Yeah, and it's not only is and one thing that was when the Rankin Bass style animation was pitched, it was one of the things that was also pitched alongside it was making it very depressing, like how Rankin Bass stuff really was.
Oh yeah, they're all like very, very glum, and they get cheery, and especially the Rudolph one. Now, can I just? I have one question. Is this episode after Elf?
Yeah, it came out December of. It came out about 7 years ago.
Okay, because Elf is one of the other things that does like an homage to Rankin and Bass as well.
Yeah, but with this, they literally went all out.
So, what draws you to it as opposed to just the animation? Like, is it the story that they were telling that drew you to it?
It was a mix of. I was already a fan of the TV show, and I don't know if you've ever seen a GIF call where people are fighting and someone says it's Christmas, and there's a black woman who says it's December 10th. That's from the first season of Community. It's got, well, being autistic, I sort of see myself as an Abed type character, or I see myself in Abed.
Well, it's always good when you can see yourself in a character.
and again, I was big fan of the show. It had a all-star. It was an ensemble cast: Allison Brie, Joel McHale, Chevy Chase, Donald Glover.
Yeah, this is the show where famously everybody hated Chevy Chase, and all of like the hate for Chevy Chase came out of.
Yeah, it's a show where Chevy Chase and Dan Harmon nearly got into a fist fight.
Yeah, because I think this is where the famous Chevy Chase leaving the voicemail or something like that came out, and they played it at like a party. I don't know. It's a very interesting show, and it jumped around from like network to eventually going on Yahoo.
Yeah, the barely the only or the Yahoo streaming service that was mainly that people only went to for new episodes of Community, and then immediately once Community ended, they just let that thing just died.
Yep. But I think we kind of hinted at, or Gary got into it before. I think we could segue to my second choice before we jump back around. So my second choice is a real divergence from everything else, which is episode 9 of season 1 of South Park, Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo.
Yeah.
So this came out in 1997. I would have been 10 years old, way too young to watch the show.
I was 3 years old.
At this time, I didn't even get Comedy Central. It did not come to my area yet. But at 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't remember what channels. One of the channels would switch over and become Comedy Central, and then you could watch South Park at 1 o'clock in the morning. So this came out right around when you wouldn't have school. So I remember watching this. This is a many firsts for the show. So this is the first musical episode, the first Christmas special, and it is the first episode in which Kenny does not die. Which, if you're a younger person, you probably don't remember the first like 3 seasons. Kenny died in every episode. It had a huge Nielsen rating for the time, but 4.5 million people watched it. And it has a ton of songs that carried over for years. And it was, it has that original like awesome South Parkness. But the other thing that is awesome in it, so South Park, like Gary was talking about earlier, started off the original, I guess, pilot was actually hand cut out construction paper, and that they were doing like what do you call it with it? Like they would take like one shot of it, stop motion. That's one thing. And they actually, so that's not actually. So I don't even know if it's considered the pilot. It was like a Christmas card thing that they made that they sent to studios. So I think it's that and the pilot episode, the only ones they ever did with that. Then they basically had to hire people to make a computer program to be able to do the rest of the show. But they used that original footage that they created, which is the Spirit of Christmas, in this first episode. Oh, actually, no, wait, it's not even this episode. It's actually a season later down the line. They use that. So the actual original kind of creation of South Park stems from a like holiday thing. And the theme of this episode is actually the fact that, so there's kind of 2 things going on. And so the A plot is basically that since they're in Colorado, Kyle and his family are the only non-Christians in town. And when they are going to put on a Christmas play, Kyle's mom throws a fit, which is her character. And basically the mayor makes them remove everything. And the holiday play turns into, if you remember The Big Lebowski, the play that his landlord puts on. And it's very like modern art. Like they're all in leotards and kind of dancing with like nothing going on. But we do get some of the most famous songs in this, which are obviously Mr. Hanky, Kyle's Mom is a Big Fat Bitch, and of course the Lonely Jew on Christmas. So a lot of this episode is written specifically from Matt Stone, who is, I would say, kind of they're a partnership, but he's kind of mostly known as the B partner. And but he is Jewish. Kyle's him, and Stan is Trey. So this was mainly written, one of the first early episodes written mostly from Matt's perspective of being like a young Jewish boy in an entirely Christian like Christmas area in his youth. And basically Mr. Hanky is the non-denominational character that they create that's very Steamboat Mickey. It's influenced by basically everything, Charlie Brown Christmas, and Kyle sings his song while he's locked in an insane asylum because he keeps saying that literally, and whenever they cut to Mr. Hanky not alive, it is an actual like Yeah, it's like it is a picture, which they did all the time, certain like at certain points in the show. But it is absolutely ridiculous, and it is again they started off like cracking on society and like kind of PC culture as well as the kind of removing stuff. It was their total satire that they still carry on to this day and making fun of everybody, as well as like the the commercialism in Christmas. And one of my favorite parts of the episode is actually the ending, which is Jesus singing "Happy Birthday" to himself to nobody with like a cupcake, I believe. Um, but yeah, like I just remember watching this as a kid, and like you're not allowed to watch it. And this was kind of again, these are the two guys that have won a ton of Tonys at this point for a musical they wrote for Broadway. And this is kind of where all this started. They did do like a live action musical way before this, but for like college, but this is kind of where they actually got the gumption to do all of the musical stuff that they've done through South Park over the years into the South Park movie
And then
to Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever remember seeing this episode?
Oh God, yeah. I watched South Park religiously when it first came out. So yeah, this is a episode that I remember quite fondly. The songs in it, like you said, are top notch. Really, like they're and I know it's South Park, but Kyle singing "The Lonely Jew" on Christmas is kind of heartbreaking. Like you feel bad for him. It's really well done. It's a fantastic Christmas episode for such an adult show.
Yeah, it became kind of like a thing that they would do. They didn't do them every year, but they would do them all the time. These Christmas episodes. I'm looking at a list. Like they did "Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson," Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics, which was like kind of a clip show with all the songs. They did "A Very Crappy Christmas," which is the episode where they show the original
Spirit of Christmas
in it. That's where Mr. Hankey has a drunk wife and his kids.
Oh yeah.
One of the other great Christmas episodes, Red Sleigh Down, in which they convince Santa to deliver toys to, I think it's Iraq, and then he gets shot down. Like again, we're laughing because it's so insane. Oh, Woodland Critter Christmas.
Oh my God, that one!
Yeah.
They just turned to cannibals.
Oh my
I
God,
love that one.
And they're like Satan.
Oh no, Satan worshippers.
Yeah, they're Satan worshippers. They're in both of the games. Like
Hell, Satan.
Yeah, it is like you think like everybody jokes. Like I feel like when I grew up, like everyone made fun, like South Park, that's like such potty humor, which it's literally there's an episode about a Christmas poop. But they were so smart, and like I feel like when they finally did Book of Mormon, it was like that. Oh, this thing of all these people, these guys that were so smart. Finally, the rest of the world recognizes their genius, and yeah, it's just crazy. And this episode is just like the beginning of the insanity of the show. They're like pure insane genius of these two guys.
Yeah, I can't agree more. It's an excellent episode. Yeah. And it spawned one of the most beloved characters in the show's entire run, which is Mr. Hankey. So
yeah, I'm not sure how much more like we can all talk about this because like everything that they've kind of done like as a pair for this show is like this episode is awesome. And it's an original episode, like it's an old episode, but it's just like it's one of the few, or like one of the, as a kid growing up, again, like I said, I was 10 years old, like you weren't supposed to see this type thing. And it was kind of, South Park was kind of the originator of that adult animated like cartoon. So yeah, but that's all I have to say on that. Gary, do you want to share your second one and we'll close out with Allan's third?
Yeah, my second pick is the 1A character of Christmas Curmudgeons, which would be A Christmas Carol. I guess more specifically, this would be the Jim Carrey one, the Robert Zemeckis motion capture.
Yeah, see, like that's my biggest memory of this is actually not the movie itself, but was this like one of the first big, like, or maybe the first motion capture movies?
No, because Robert Zemeckis had also done another Christmas movie, which was Polar Express.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
But that was absolutely horrifying to look at.
Yes, it was. Now, A Christmas Carol isn't a whole lot better to look at. Like, they definitely came a long way, but more so just the story of A Christmas Carol. You got this, uppity rich guy that fucking hates everybody, hates everything, doesn't give a shit about Christmas, doesn't give a shit about his poor employee, and he gets visited by three ghosts, which honestly, I mean, it gets dark. Like it gets really dark.
Oh well, it's a oh
I
my
mean,
god,
this is
I just
this
blanked on
is
the guy who wrote it originally.
Charles
Dickens.
Dickens. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a original story written at the turn of the century during
But I
the
mean,
big.
it's not a happy Christmas movie
No,
until
like
the
Tim dies in the one future.
so it's like, but it is about a guy like finding love within himself, kind of like with the Grinch. It's about a guy who's basically lost everything that tied him to humanity, slowly finding that humanity again, and under the guise of Christmas spirit, which is stories that I'm drawn to. Like it's you got this bad guy that turns out not to be so bad. He changes the way he treats people and stuff like that. And I think that's a big part of the holiday spirit is that believing in people's ability to change for the better, and the animation is good. It's not bad. Motion capture does, like, especially for the time, like when you go full motion capture animated movie, you tend to get like some of the creepy eyes and shit going.
Hey, that uncanny valley thing.
Yes, very
Man, the
much so.
cast in this movie is insane. Besides Jim Carrey, you have Gary Oldman is Bob Cratchit, Marley, and Tiny Tim. You have Colin Firth as Fred. Carrie Elwes is like a bunch of different characters. Robin Wright, Bob Hoskins. Yeah, this movie has like an insane cast. Oh man, Allan, do you know who is a tiny cast member in this? That's
Who?
Paul Blackthorne
I am not surprised.
from Arrow. If you do not watch Arrow, he played
Commissioner, or he played blanking on the first
It's Quentin Lance. So
Quentin
he was like,
Landis.
yeah, so he was like the police commissioner chief and also the father of Black Canary and White Canary. And he was in every episode of the show basically until the season. Oh,
You
wow,
mean
like
that last season?
last season. Yeah, but like this cast is insane. This isn't my favorite version of this show, of this story,
It's
but
not mine either.
but it
But
is
the
like
other one,
there are multiple animated versions. This is definitely the best animated version.
yeah, and the other one, like my favorite version, we can't talk about because it's Muppets and not
That's also
animation.
my favorite version. But I do think this has a cast equal to the cast of that.
Oh, I do too.
And
Well, was the Muppet Christmas Carol before or after Jim Henson?
it was
After.
after he died.
It was directed by Brian Henson.
Yes, but it is probably I would put it up there as one of the best Muppet movies.
Oh,
Period.
I'd probably put it as the best.
Top, yes.
But no, this the Jim Carrey Robert Zemeckis one it's very good. It's it's the same old story. It's always going to be the same old story.
And like you
This
said,
one's
it's
just
dark. I looked it up. So the original story is from 1843. So Charles Dickens wrote this at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution,
right.
which feeds into the whole like everything going into this. But it's an amazing story, and I do like this version, like you said. But like I feel like to me, of all the Christmas stories, like this is the most classic morality, especially again morality tale of all of the different stories.
It's like you can be rich as shit, but if you keep acting like an asshole, you're likely to die alone with nobody
Yeah.
caring.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to be a better person. My name is Earl.
yeah, it's a story that has been reused over and over again, both with the name and without the name.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, like it's a sitcom trope at this point where you get like there used to be all kinds of like there used to be sitcom specials where they would do a Christmas Carol, that or It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah,
But,
that's probably the other big one that sitcoms and cartoons like redo all the time. Because like I basically I feel like every show that's run long enough has done a version of Christmas Carol. I'm sure that there's a Simpsons. I'm sure there's I think there's a Futurama, which is the same writers. I'm sure every Nickelodeon show has done a version of it, or at least some gag about it with the like waking up and throwing open the windows at the end.
Right. It's probably the most well-known Christmas story there is.
When I was recovering in 2011 from my spinal fusions, I don't know why I was in a very Christmassy mood. So, and I was also binge watching, or I just typed in to YouTube back before the robots took over YouTube. I just typed in Nickelodeon Christmas, and the You Can't Do That in Television Christmas episode
Mhm.
was the first result.
I remember that show.
And Ross comes out, or they're all talking about commercialism and Christmas, and Ross is repeatedly saying "Bah humbug."
Yeah, well, there you go. The just bah humbug or humbug has probably been used in everything.
And
Like that has permeated pop culture deeply.
yeah, and then Moose was like, "I'm surprised, Ross. I didn't think you'd read Dickens." He's like, "Read it? I didn't read it. I've seen the movie."
Mhm.
God, that show was great.
I guess
What-
there's not really a whole lot more to say about A Christmas Carol. I mean, it's the most classic of Christmas stories like this. As far as the animated one goes, the animation's done well. It's pretty to look at and everything. It's not the best telling of it, but it's a good telling of it. So I mean, I think we can. You want to move on to your last pick, Al?
Yeah, mine is the Rugrats Hanukkah special,
Good old Rugrats. Love Rugrats.
where it's sort of a mix of there are multiple plot lines going through the episode, and it has one of the best openings of something Hanukkah related, because it opens up with the um it opens up with a narration like long ago in the land of Israel, the Jewish people lived happily, and it goes over everything with King Antiochus, and like every adaptation that the Rugrats did, it's the characters, and then it goes into Judah Maccabee, which is a very key historical figure in the, or is a very big figure in like the Hanukkah tale.
Now, how do you think they did with telling the Hanukkah story?
Oh, it was fantastic. I was gonna say was because
Well, yeah, I mean it's an old show.
it came out. It came out about nearly 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah, I was gonna
remember.
say like this is one of the few Nickelodeon holiday specials I remember, and I'm not even gonna lie. Where I think this is where I first heard the real story of Hanukkah.
Yeah,
Yeah, same here.
And I grew up in a very diverse area, like, and I knew about it. Like, it's not that I didn't know anything, but like, I've never actually heard the kind of backstory of like the Festival of Lights and like why. Like, it's always just been like, oh, the oil lasted for so many days, but I never actually knew the kind of story around that. And they do a great interpretation. And to me, like, I still remember, like, I loved how in that show they depicted the grandparents, and in the episode specifically the grandfather telling the story to all the children. And it's something like that connected with me really hard.
yeah. What ends up there's also a really great scene where the Israelis or the kids say they charge at the Greeks, and then it switches to a like historical painting of or historical art of Jewish rebels.
Is there a you're talking about the opening scene? Is there a scene that other than that sticks out to you that means a lot to you?
Yeah. it's like what was said, or it's more mainly the scene where Boris and I'm blanking on his
On the grandma's name.
no, not the grandmother, the his quote unquote nemesis,
Okay, yeah.
how they end up making amends, and the entire time, like the curtain is up and it actually accidentally falls, and the audience is seeing the two old men reading to the kids about Hanukkah. It's just one of those things that I remember that no matter how old I get, it's one of those things it's one of those scenes that will never leave me.
That's good.
Yeah, I found the name. His rival is Shlomo.
Yes.
Shlomo.
And in the beginning, it is the grandma that is reading the book. And then I guess the memory that kicks into me is that they actually hand, I guess at the end of the story, Tommy hands the book to Shlomo.
As in please read, or
Yeah.
and there's a bit of sadness in it because Boris is jealous of Shlomo because he's a successful businessman, and Shlomo is jealous of Boris because of his family, or that he has offspring and stuff. So it was just, I'm actually probably gonna watch it after we're done recording.
That sounds like a good episode.
I actually
I remember it
want to
being
watch
good.
it too.
Yeah, I do too.
I think, especially like with my memory, because like Nickelodeon kind of came out when I was a kid, and like that really is the only holiday special that has ever stuck to me. I'm not sure if it's because I grew up in an area in New Jersey that was fairly prominently Jewish. So like I actually, like in my neighborhood, I was one of the few houses that had Christmas lights. A lot of my friends were Jewish, so like it kind of stuck out to me. Like I used to babysit during the holidays. Like the kids while they were in temple and stuff like that. And this episode for some reason just like really connected with me because I lived in kind of that culture around me, even though like I specifically didn't grow up that way. My family is not Jewish, but yeah, it's sometimes odd which little things connect with you so well. And I do think I've never seen any show, let alone a children's show, kind of do an episode on Hanukkah as pretty much amazing as the Rugrats did.
Yeah.
Like if I would show that. I hope that they still run this episodes at some point because I think it would still play amazingly today.
They
I
actually
agree.
did I think a week or two ago, like the episode we're talking, like that specific episode, and like me and my siblings, like my oldest sister was born, my oldest sister and my brother, they were born in the 80s, like the mid to late 80s, while my other sister and I were born in the early 90s. One of the things that we still bond over is the Regrets Hanukkah special.
That's good. I mean,
Yeah.
glad you can have that to bond over. That's actually a really cool thing to bond over.
So,
You got anything else to say about it?
not really, because I literally, before we started recording, I looked up list of animated Hanukkah specials, and there was 8 Crazy Nights, Hebrew Hammer,
Oh my god, I saw Hebrew Hammer.
and like and one of my favorite episodes of the OC where it was, or two, or some episodes of the OC about a holiday that Adam Brody's character created called Christmaka, and how nearly everything was live action. There was no animated stuff.
That's kind of sad when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think I was telling Alan the other day, like when he was bringing up these two movies, I was like, I can barely even think of anything else animated, let alone not animated, where they even address non Christmas stuff in the holidays. Like, and the one I thought it was like the Futurama with the robot Santa. They like throw in Kwanzaa Bot and Hanukkah Zombie.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a interesting take and a great idea, Alan, to like bring those up, because yeah, like especially that Rugrats one is kind of like a bold decision that they made for that show at that time period. And actually, both of those are kind of around the same time period, I would say, both of your movies or your movie and that. But yeah, I think we did a good job on covering some of our favorite holiday specials. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think we covered the shit out of them.
Uh,
We're ready to wrap up.
Yeah, I think we do a really, really quick round of plugs.
I have nothing to plug. I'm just Gary.
All right.
See me
I will
here.
do. Me and Alan have like a ton of podcasts, so I will rip through them real quick. But me and Al,
I'm gonna do the ANC.
okay. So yeah, we have me and Alan also do a podcast called And Now Comics that just started last week. It's the two of us, along with Connor Irving, John Seiler, Connor McGraw will be on an episode coming up, and
hopefully we want to expand, like, or get more, like, broaden the group, like, have it not be just the same 4 people week after week.
Yeah, it's kind of just a show where we talk about what we're reading, what we have read, and the comic book industry as a whole, kind of similar to what we do in this show with cartoons.
I want to be on the episode that covers Batman and the Ninja Turtles comic.
Whenever you want to do it.
Yeah, all you have to do is either have
message one of us.
all you have to do is either reread it so you have it fresher in your mind.
Sweet.
And
Yes.
any other comic that you want to talk about, because the limit is sort of like 2, like we each talk about at least 2 comics,
Oh, okay.
whether it's trade paperback or a single issue.
Yep.
Sounds like a good podcast.
Yep. Me and Al also have another show where we are rewatching Smallville, which just kind of randomly became kind of temporary again, or contemporary, I mean. So you can check that out. They usually will probably come out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on the Phantom Zone, which is another podcast me and Al appear on all the time. So comic books, Smallville appear on the Phantom Zone stream. You can get that if you search the Phantom Zone on Apple iTunes, YouTube, anywhere you find your podcast, Spotify, Stitcher. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to all the podcasts. Check out the Lost Horror podcast. I appear on Lost Horror Games, which is a podcast that Alan does. We can continue on.
Okay, you can find me on you can find me on Twitter at the Allan. We're mainly just retweeting mainly these days, because I really have nothing original to say.
That's always my problem on Twitter. That and I hate Twitter.
Yeah, I don't use it anymore either.
What else? Oh, Instagram. You can find me there at Comics Boy, where as the name kind of implies, I post photos from or panels and stuff from different comics I'm reading. The most recent one I put up was the first image from the first trade paperback of Earth to Society.
Awesome.
Which was simply Superman in the foreground. Oh no, it was Superman in the background, Red Tornado, Lois Lane in the foreground.
Yeah, and I guess, did you have anything else, Alan?
Oh yeah, visit losthorror.wordpress.com for articles such as Tav's review of Heavenly Blues, the review for Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Hunter's new column Mode 7, where this time in the inaugural one, he makes a case for more Earthbound games. Subscribe or rate, review, and subscribe to the Lost Horror Games podcast on iTunes. You can find it on many, many other platforms, such as.
All right, and I think that just about wraps us up. And
you were about to you literally left me hanging, bro.
Sorry, I thought you were.
No, I was trying to. It's on. Well, you can find it on Stitcher, Android, Spotify, And as I've mentioned before, we're past 350 plays over covering about 9 episodes, which I just find crazy. So
I think we can now close out. You can check out this show every other week on the Los Haro stream, which you are listening to right now. So,
All right. All right. This has been Legion of Toon. Hope you join us next time. And have an awesome couple weeks, and we'll be back.
Merry holidays, filthy animals.
Oh my god, I gotta pee, guys.